Hello and welcome, football fans, to the 2021 Coaches Preview Show powered by Skordle. My name is Andy Campbell, and I am joined here today by Class 4A Weatherford Eagles head football coach Reagan Roof. Coach, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Coach, we'll start by recapping the 2020 football season for your Eagles. You were a year removed from playing in the state championship game there in 2019, and you go 8-0 in the regular season last year. Lose a heartbreaker in the playoffs to Cushing. Can you use that disappointment from that Cushing game as a motivating factor for your team this season?
I hope so. I mean, we were obviously disappointed last year, and had a number of things that went wrong that game, and part of that being that Cushing is going to be a very good football team. We were young last year, and I think they started like 10 sophomores, so I think they're going to be really tough to deal with next couple of years. And so, yeah, I mean, it was obviously very disappointing how we left it last year. We had such high expectations, and something that doesn't really change this year, though, is the expectations. And we've got a good group back, and I think it's something, any failure like that, you try to learn from and try to analyze and find ways to get better and fix the problems. And so I think if you do that, if you can learn from them, you take a negative and make it a positive, and that's what we'll try to do, like we always do. So.
Coach, I want to ask you about one particular player from that 2020 team, Ethan Downs, who is going through fall camp right now at the University of Oklahoma. Have you seen or talked to Ethan? How's he doing? What are the coaches at OU telling him about whether we'll see him on the field this fall?
Yeah, I talked to him quite a bit, actually, and I'm glad that I get to stay in contact with him. He's a great kid. He was, obviously awesome to be able to coach him, and he did a lot for our program. And so far, everything we're hearing from him and that he's hearing from them is that he's got himself in a position to play a lot of snaps this year. And if he can stay healthy, I think you're going to see him play a lot on Saturdays.
Coach, moving on to the 2021 Weatherford Eagles, tell us how many returning starters you guys have on both sides of the ball, and tell us some of the key players that we need to be watching out for this fall.
I believe we have about eight returning on offense and 6 returning on defense that either started or played significant time last year. And so I'm excited about getting them back. We'll have a few holes to fill. It was a great senior class that we lost last year, but this group's that's kind of made a run was always a combination of kind of juniors. This year's senior class and last year's senior class were back-to-back good classes for us. So we still got a good senior class this year, and just some familiar names that have been really playing since they were sophomores. Some of them played since they were freshmen. We have Sam Hoffman, one of the running backs, and Malachi Johnson, the other running backs. I think as good a running back combination as they'll be in 4A. Then we've got, a kid like Brett Bozarth, that's a receiver and safety for us. It's started for 3 years. Bryson Cook, Aiden Klepchak, and a couple solid players in that class. And so, and then defense is kind of anchored by Ryan Shields, who's been a 3-year starter at middle linebacker for us. And so really the core of that senior class is a talented group, hard-nosed football players, and they'll be, what we kind of build off of this year.
Talking to Weatherford head coach Reagan Roof here on the 2021 Skordle Coaches Preview Show. Coach, how are you and your staff preparing for this season as compared to the 2020 season with the COVID issues that you were facing then and also starting to spike a little bit now?
Well, unfortunately, coming into this year, we were, 3 weeks ago, we were thinking how fortunate we were that we weren't going to have to deal with all that this year. And here in the last, 2 or 3 weeks, that has obviously turned. And so it looks right now we're going to be in a very similar situation than we were last year, as far as trying to keep kids separated, trying to distance as much as we can, trying to do everything we can on our side to keep our kids playing and keeping them on the field. There's 2 battles here we have to fight. One is keeping them from getting sick, and 2 is keeping them from getting quarantined. And I'm not so sure the quarantine's not harder on a kid than them actually getting sick, because it's one thing if a kid's got COVID and happened to sit at home and he's sick and not playing. He at that point he understands, hey, I'm sick, I can't play. I think where it's mentally tough is when you're perfectly healthy and you're sitting at home for 10 days because you just happen to sit across, an aisle from one of a kid that had it in class. And so when you have a healthy kid that's having to miss games and sit at home, that's a little harder mentally to accept too. And so we're trying to do two things, trying to keep it from spreading, and also what can we do to keep from quarantining kids and keeping them apart and things like that. So it's not a fun deal to take on, but it is what it is. So,
Coach, as you look around Class 4A, obviously a lot of strong teams. You have Clinton on your schedule, who was the state runner-up last year. Tell me what teams that you're looking at that could make a run for the gold ball here in 2021.
Just kind of basing off, and obviously I know a lot more about the west side of the state than the east side of the state, but out of the west, you got Clinton, who's got a lot of kids returning from a team that just got beat in the finals from a runner-up team. So they're going to be tough to deal with down the stretch. Just looking at kind of rosters and what they did last year and who they got back, I think Tuttle and Cushing are definitely top 3 or 4 teams in the state. Both of them made semifinal runs, and I think Tuttle maybe played 1 senior and Cushing maybe played 1 or 2 seniors. So I look for both of those to be very good this year. And of course, you still got Wagner and some of those in the East that are good every year. And I think I just think it's a tough district, and it's a tough class from top to bottom. And I those just going into those seem like the favorites to me.
We're a little over 3 weeks away from your opener with Kingfisher. What can fans expect to see from the 2021 Weatherford Eagles?
Oh, I think we're going to be similar to what we've been the last couple of years, especially from a skill position standpoint. For the last few years, Malachi Johnson and Sam Hoffman, you've heard those names quite a bit. Obviously, we'll be different without Ethan Downs. I mean, he's been kind of the picture of our program the last 4 years, and we'll have to do some things offensively defensively differently without him. He was such a force both sides of the ball. But overall, I mean, our kids, we're going to have a talented bunch. We're going to be, I think the young kids that we're going to play early, by the time we get to late in the season in district play and playoffs, I think are going to really come on and be nice players. And I think that we got a chance to be in the mix of this at the end of the season too. If we can stay healthy and barring some injuries, things like that, I think we got a group that I think we can put a good team out in the field and that's can make a run at this thing as well. But on the season, so much can happen. A lot of it comes down to who can stay healthiest and who can kind of gel the most. And there's just so many unknowns at this point in the season. So I know we're excited about the group we got and look forward to getting them out there and seeing what we can make out of them.
Well, Coach, we here at Skordle wish you the absolute best this year with the Weatherford Eagles. Thank you again for joining us in the 2021 Skordle Coaches Preview Show. And we will be following the Weatherford Eagles with great interest this season.
Appreciate you having me.